Hey guys, it's Amy and Robert. We are back together to talk about something that I have been putting off for a while. It's a really important subject that I've been meaning to make a video about for probably about a year. That's just about as long as we've been talking about this subject, right? I think that's probably the first time we actually really had a conversation about it. And what that is what to do with our leftover embryos, if you will. I don't love the phrase leftover, but that just means the 3 embryos that we have frozen that we are like 99% sure we won't be using. We have 2 kids. One's
99.999% sure.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, so our son is 3 years old. Our daughter is 18 months, and we had them close together. It's been a whirlwind, but we know that with the 2 kids, our family is complete. And so we have these 3 embryos that are sitting in storage that we've paid 2 years worth of storage for.
Cryogenically frozen.
I don't know if that's accurate. So our clinic, I guess, lab, I don't know, that we have the our embryos stored at is like about $400 and something a year to store them.
$24.
And that doesn't really come out to a lot when you break it down per month, but the fact that we've already paid for this twice and we have an 18-month-old daughter, like that's when we stored them, is when we created her. And I'm like, wow, it just already feels like so much money. And our kids are still so young. I mean, they haven't even been stored that long. So I'm like, we really should think about what to do so we're not just holding on to these embryos and we don't, holding on to them for no reason. Like, it's time to really start thinking about this. And what happens when you get IVF, or at least for the clinic we were using, they ask you ahead of time to fill out all this paperwork. And one of the things that they ask you about is what you want to do with any unused embryos. And the choice was either to destroy them, donate them to science, or just donate them in general, like I guess to a couple who is looking to adopt embryos.
And I think the last choice was a Denver omelet.
Oh God. Well, we didn't really know what we wanted to do at the time, so I think we chose, and you probably think just left it up to me, just chose to donate them to science. And obviously we can change it if we want to, but that's how they are. So I guess until when I'm 52, I have until I'm 52 years old, if I can recall correctly, to decide what to do with them. And if they're still unused, then at that point they would get donated to science as it stands now. But after having my kids and seeing what actually comes from those embryos, and I'll admit I used to think of them in a very scientific way. I used to think of them as a little ball of cells with DNA and not really much more beside that. But now seeing the little perfect, little adorable, beautiful little humans that those embryos have turned into has really changed my mind on this. And it's made me have some serious conversations with myself and with Robert about, now that we have kids and now that we're actually faced with this situation of what to do with these embryos, what are we actually going to do? And had you really thought about it all until I brought it up, before I brought it up with you?
Not really.
Shocking.
I was just more concerned on enjoying my little monkeys.
Yeah. And we love them, but we really are good with 2 kids. The only way I would want to have more is if, God forbid, anything happened to either one of them while I was still in childbearing age, because I really wouldn't want them to be only children. So we're sitting here like, okay, wow, we're faced with this dilemma. Keeping you awake?
Sorry. It's just a little late.
And let's just break it down with what each option, how that sits with us. I really don't like the idea of just having them destroyed, because it just feels like little golden nuggets or something. I don't know, just precious, even if they are just balls of DNA and cells, to me and to us, they're just so beyond precious because A, it was hard work to make them, and B, we see who they can be, you know? We have evidence of that now, and I'm like, they feel a hell of a lot more like mini babies than they do just, you know, genetic material. So that's weighing on us. Then the idea of donating them to science doesn't really feel to me a whole lot different than, oh my Lord.
Sorry. It's been a long day.
That doesn't feel a whole lot different to me than just having them destroyed, to be quite honest with you. And then the last option of having them, or donating them. I never liked that idea because I didn't like the idea of having kids out there that we didn't know about. Probably not something you were thrilled at that idea either, right?
No.
But I mean, now, especially when they have like all this like Ancestry and 23andMe where, you know, people can find their biological parents so easily, I'm like, I really don't like the idea of just possibly having children out there and not knowing who they are. And like maybe one day when they turn 18, all of a sudden years later, I don't like not knowing. I don't like that aspect of it. So one day, about a year ago, it's been a while, I'm just, all of a sudden, I just had this idea come to me. And it was just like poof in my head. I don't even know where I came up with this because I honestly, maybe it was subconsciously, I heard it somewhere and it stayed in my mind.
I think I came up with the idea.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I brought this idea up to you. You just said you hadn't even thought about it. So how would you come up with this idea?
At one time.
No. I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what would be kind of cool? Like, the one reason I would really want to have more kids is only just to know who those embryos turned out to be.
Okay, can I tell him? We're going to talk to Elon Musk and have him launch them into space in the next car that goes up. So.
Wow, you're really loving these like boom boom nice jokes, Robert. So we were I was, you know, thinking I would love to know who these embryos could grow up to be. You know, who could these embryos be? Because I love knowing our kids, so I'm like, I'd love to know who else we could make, but we don't really want at all the responsibility of being pregnant again, birthing them, raising them, having a bigger family.
There's no way.
I mean, I really could not picture myself being pregnant with 2 small kids. Like, it was hard enough. Like, I loved being pregnant, but like, no, we are, for many reasons, we are so done. But we would love to know who these embryos turn out to be, right? Like, that would be like the ultimate thing. But we just don't want to be responsible for more kids.
So we're going to have somebody else raise them.
So it came to my consciousness, like, is there such a thing as an open embryo adoption? Is there? I don't know. Let me research it. So I did a little clicking around on the internet. Sure enough, it's a thing. And I was like, wow. So I thought about it for a minute. I brought the idea to you, and I kind of actually expected him to be like, no. But what do you remember how you reacted when I brought that up to you?
No, it was a long time ago.
Okay, well, you pretty much have the same thoughts about it now. I don't think it's changed.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
What are your thoughts about it?
I can't remember. No, I think it's a good idea because now we can actually have our kids, but somebody else raise them. But then they're not our kids anymore. Not our kids. Our actual biological kids, but not our kids, raised by someone else. But our son and daughter can actually know who their brother or sister may be. And so that's kind of cool.
That is cool, and that would be another reason
if
why
the possible parents are open to that,
that's
which
the thing.
They would have to be because it's open.
Yeah, we could essentially choose, found out, essentially choose who we would want to adopt our embryos, which I'm not saying this would be like 100%, oh my God, like this would be without any kind of, difficulties.
Sorry.
But
very tired.
You have to cut
37 hours.
No, he hasn't. You have to kind of weigh like the pros and the cons, right? That's kind of the stage we're at right now. At least I am. Like, I'm really trying to look at this from all angles and be like, is this something I legitimately could picture myself doing? Would it be? And the main question I have, like, would this be really hard or too hard emotionally for me to see a baby growing up that might look like our kids, might look just like one of us, you know, knowing that could have been our child at some point if we wanted to make that happen. You know, there's so many things to consider, undoubtedly, and we definitely have to do more research. We really haven't dug into this at all. This is just kind of us putting our initial thoughts about this situation out there, and I definitely want to maybe look up some other families who've gone through this on YouTube. If anybody, you know, knows of a channel to recommend, don't, you know, hesitate to drop that in the comments and let us know who we should check out, because I really would love to know other people's experiences with this. But the reason I really could picture myself doing this is that I really didn't bond too strongly with my kids until they were born. Surprisingly, you know, because I wanted kids for almost 5 years before they were born. But it was like a process that I really had to get to know them. And I think you were kind of the same way. Like, I don't think you popped out and they popped out and you were just like, oh, this is instantly like my son, you know? Like, was it, you had to kind of, you had to kind of develop that bond, I mean, right?
He's still growing on me a little bit, you know, I mean, kind of tolerable. But one of these days, I think I'll call him my son.
No, I think we're pretty well bonded with the kids now, but I think it was definitely a process. I don't think
couldn't imagine a day without him.
No, but I mean, but it took time to get to that point, right? It just didn't happen instantaneously. And I know for some people it does, but for us it was a process. And so that's what I have to keep telling myself is you don't have the tendency to instantly feel this connection with these kids. Like I mean, I remember looking at both of them and being like, whose kid is this? Like, who's this? This is my kid? Like, I don't know. That's what they gave this. They're telling me it's mine. So because of that, I'm like, maybe I could actually go through with this and it wouldn't be really difficult. There probably would be difficult moments. It probably would be an emotional experience in some ways, but I think the benefits of River and Vienne having those biological siblings, and them being able to possibly foster their own relationship down the road, kind of leaving it in their hands as they get older and they become adults. Maybe they want to kind of treat each other more like siblings, which I like the idea of them having more siblings because we don't have a lot of family out here in California. The family that we do have is unfortunately we're not very close with most of them. And, you know, other family members just live far away. And so I really liked the idea of having a bigger family for the kids, but we just really can't provide that ourselves. So if there's a possibility that they can have extra siblings out there that they know, I think that'd be a really good thing for them.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could give them if I could give River and Vienne like 10 more siblings, I feel like I would love that for them, but that's just not what we're about to take on in our lives. No. So I don't know. It's a lot to consider. These are just like our initial thoughts on the situation. But out of all of the options, honestly, at this point, it sounds like the lesser of all evils. The best case scenario would be like if we just wanted 3 more kids and then we just like had all of our embryos. That'd be the best case, but that can't happen. So I think this is the next best thing. No, I could never. But this is the next best thing, that we don't just take these little pieces of I don't even know what word to use to describe them. I just feel so strongly for these
little pieces of us.
I feel so strongly for these little embryos, and I would just want them to grow and become somebody that, especially for somebody who really longs for kids, who would take such good care of them. You know that they're not going to go to some like degenerate family. Like, they're going to go to people who really would you know, be really great parents, and we would be able to control that too. It would be up to us to decide, and I love that. I love that. So I don't know, you guys, if any of you out there have any experience with this, definitely let me know. Feel free to even share your thoughts on the situation. Feel free to share other channels that you might know of that have gone through this, because this is my next step. And this, hopefully, if you know, if what I research actually looks, looks as good as I think it will, this will be the next chapter, which I think would be really exciting to be able to document our embryo donation / someone else's adoption.
Yeah.
And that will really just take our life in a whole different, unexpected direction. This is not something that people do every day. Like, this is just so far out there. The thought of this, I think most people would be like, I could never do that, or that's crazy. But like, when you're faced with a situation where you have to do something with these embryos, you can't choose to do nothing, because ultimately that may not, what would come of them is what you don't want anyway, which is just them being destroyed or something. So we have to do something. And people are probably going to think we're nuts. Like, I haven't told many family or friends about this, because they probably would be like, are you serious? Like, how could you do that? I could never let somebody else raise my kids.
I really don't care what they think.
I know you don't care. I mean, I don't care. I'm going to make my own decision either way. But this is something that normally people are not ever going to be faced with. And the idea is just going to be so shocking. I know it. So it's going to be a journey, I think. But
stay tuned.
Stay tuned, and of course we'll let you guys know if and when we definitely decide to go in this direction. But for now, we are headed towards just really researching, and I want to really make this my New Year's resolution, is to make a decision what to do with at least 2 of these embryos. At least I would really love to just kind of at least maybe hold on to one, just worst case scenario for the time being at least. But for 2 of our embryos, I would like to find a good home for them this year. So, all right guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you later.